When I was a child, I lived on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. During the worst years of the Great Depression, my family had to move to a damp basement apartment. Our neighborhood was peopled mostly by Orthodox Jews, so that even today, the title, Jewish Ghetto, resonates. I was used to hearing languages other than English, Yiddish, Hebrew, Italian, Chinese. None of them sounded anything like Romany, the Gypsy tongue. Each spring, the Gypsies arrived in our neighborhood, as if they had dropped from the sky. One day, there was an abandoned store, just another of the four failed businesses that had fallen victim to the dreadful economic times. The next day, it was inhabited by a group of dark strangers. They draped colored cloths over the glass storefronts. Then strange, raucous voices sounded through the walls, unsettling the familiar balance of our lives. I had to pass their storefront on my way to PS 147. Neighbors said, "Stay away from those people. They have dirty habits, untrustworthy, and sometimes they steal children." Those people were darker than the most southerly Italians and had large glowing eyes, whose wild expressions filled me with thrilling and mysterious emotion. Their young people did not go to school and seemed utterly undisciplined. The little boys peed unashamedly into the gutter and occasionally aimed the urine stream at a passerby. The little girls' earlobes were threaded with velvet ribbons which held sparkling earrings. They seemed never to have combed their tangled hair. But the adolescent girls fascinated me most of all. They wore wildly colorful long dresses with flounced skirts. Golden jewelry lay on their tawny skin and hung from their ears. Despite cautions, I sometimes paused where they teetered on the hip-high iron railing. I listened to their boisterous snatches of incomprehensible conversation as they swung their legs and tossed their long braided hair. They darted their wickedly knowing glances at the drab inhabitants of our street. I looked down at my faded cotton dress, aware of my pale skin, and oh, how I envied their careless, colorful lives. They found me, a rare blue-eyed child in this brunette enclave, as interesting as I found them. As I walked home with my little satchel full of books, several of them, grinning mischievously, jumped in front of me. They cupped their hands under their well-developed breasts, shoving them upwards. They pointed derisively at my flat, childish chest and laughed mockingly. I longed to explain, but remained mute, that I was too young, but I would someday be as physically endowed as they were. Still, I knew I would never possess that maddening, mysterious quality which was their birthright. One evening, my mother sent my brother on an errand to a local grocery store, and I asked to go with him. We passed the gypsy place. Their young boys had built a small trash fire in the gutter. They leaped through the flames, shouting phrases that reminded me of jump rope tunes. After our errand, we came back to find the fire embered and heard lively music coming through the partly opened door. Inside, many of the gypsies were sitting on the rough wooden floor, clapping to the rhythm of a small drum, while others danced in the light of dozens of amber-colored candles. My brother pulled me away roughly, saying, "We must go home." Oh, let me stay, I thought. Let me be one of them. But we did leave and walked into our dark hallway without candlelight. I had assumed that my temporary neighbors spoke only Romany. But one day, the tallest of those impudent girls said in a rough, commanding voice, "Hey, you, blonde girl, come here. You have money?" I shook my head, no. Didn't they know that no one around here ever had money? They shrugged, turned away laughing, and looked over their shoulders at my insignificant self. Somehow, their speaking English shocked me. I learned they called themselves the Roma, people who came to Europe a long time ago from an unknown place, probably India. It had always been their habit to wander, but why did they wander into our poor community? What could it offer them? Before the summer's heat arrived, the gypsies were gone, as suddenly as they had appeared. I thought of their appearance in our midst as if it were a bubble, an evanescence that shimmered briefly. The tawdry glamour they imparted to our street faded. We asked each other as we passed the empty store, "Remember the gypsies?" One boy said, "Yeah, they smelled funny. Maybe something they ate." I didn't know what they ate. I didn't know much of anything about the Roma. I only knew that they had stabbed me with the knowledge of a different world and had opened a hole in my enclosed life.